Hey 19, everyone, it's Mike and Walter here, reeling in the airs with 5 decades of Steely Dan. Beg your pardon? Oh, my apologies. Hey folks, it's Mike and Harrison here with 50 years of Iron Maiden and Rock in Rio. And that little bit there was for Grant Arthur of the Rock Warehouse.
I'm sorry, I cracked up. I'm sorry. Welcome to 50 Years of Iron Maiden, everybody. They're doing Rock in Rio tonight. I'm hoping that you... I know Henry Wright has done his homework, and he has been listening to Rock in Rio this week, as have I. Here's the album. This is the lenticular cover CD. We all know Harrison loves lenticular covers. And... what can I say? It's going to be a great episode once again. We've both got lots of notes. But first of all, I would just like to send some well wishes to some friends of ours, some friends of the show. First of all, Broadway Blotto, get well soon, buddy. You got this. And Peter C. Good old Peter C. He is fighting hard. He has a serious battle ahead of him, but he's got that fighting spirit. And I just want raise the fist of the metal child, and let's send some friends some love. And we have Johnny Clauser in the house, and of course, as always, Henry Wright, the most loyal viewer of all time. And yes, get well, Broadway. Harrison, do you have anything you want to say before I do the info dump?
Nope, other than to say that we are back with an Iron Maiden live album, and spoiler alert, it's a good one.
Okay. I'm going to do two things here. I'm doing two things differently tonight. So in order to do that, we need to switch places. There we go. Because one of the things that I find very difficult to do when I'm not using actual paper notes is reading notes while doing the show. I have no idea what I look like when I'm reading the notes. So tonight, for the first time ever, I'm using a dual window setup, which means I can't see Harrison's face because my notes are over his face, but I can see what I'm doing. On with the show. Rock in Rio, Iron Maiden, released on CD on 25 March 2002, on DVD 10 June 2002. This was recorded.
Slightly different cover art.
Yes. If you can see the difference. Recorded on the 19th of January 2001, which was the final show of the tour. In Rio de Janeiro, Iron Maiden played to approximately 250,000 people, which is the second largest crowd of their entire career, only topped by Rock in Rio in 1985, where they played to 350,000 people.
Yes, this was still the biggest headline date they've ever done. Rock in Rio 1985, they were second on the bill to Queen.
True, that's a legendary set as well, isn't it? This is the second Iron Maiden album now to be produced by Kevin Caveman Shirley. On CD, it went to number 85 in Australia, number 15 in the UK, but number 3 on the rock and metal charts. On DVD, it went to number 3 in Australia, number 2 in the UK, and number 1 on the UK rock and metal charts. The album went silver in the UK. The DVD went platinum in the UK and the US, and it went double platinum in Canada. And that is pretty much all I have to say for my info dump. Do you want to say anything before we get started track by track?
Other than just to remark that it's a very auspicious chart performance for a DVD that is now long out of print. This is not easy to get a hold of, which is a damn shame.
Now, my DVDs, unfortunately, are inaccessible right now, but my Canadian copy is very different and looks more like that.
Interesting.
Yes. I wish I could have gotten it out, but it is just not physically possible at this time.
This is a region 2, UK, for what it's worth, which I believe was the more standard cover art anyway for the DVD.
Okay. Good to know. All right. Well, if you are ready to go track by track, the very first thing is an intro. And I think it's the first time they've used this intro, but it's a track called Arthur's Farewell from the First Night soundtrack by Jerry Goldsmith. And I never would have guessed it was Jerry Goldsmith. It sounds like gothic 18th century music of some kind. Anything you want to say about the intro?
Just I'm surprised that they didn't use a track from The Wicker Man itself.
You have to admit, though, it's really effective. And The Wicker Man kind of folksy.
Sure.
New metal had replaced grunge, Henry, but the tide was turning because a lot of these new metal bands, they really idolized the old bands, and that's why Ozzy really kind of maintained his popularity, is because he was always popular with whoever. Sorry to detour, but Ozzy, through grunge and new metal, was idolized by all the new bands. You know, they always said that Seattle's primary influence was Black Sabbath #1. And Roger is in the house tonight. That is fantastic to see you guys. The first real track is The Wicker Man. And I didn't really have much to say here other than it is a ripping opener. And it is also the opener on the album itself, Brave New World, for which they were touring.
Yes, Maiden tend to open their live shows in the reunion era with at least a 1-2 punch from the new album, and one of them being the opener. The Wicker Man's great version. As you pointed out earlier, it's the last date of the tour, and because of that, Bruce's voice is slightly weathered. He's got this extra sort of grit around the edges. He doesn't sound bad by any stretch of the imagination, but he's got this extra bit of grit, little bit of rasp to his voice on some songs, and I think that the Wicker Man sounds really cool with this grit.
Yeah. Okay. So Bruce has not lost any of his power, but excuse me, he does, as I get some grit in my voice, he does have a little bit of that grit, but like the lung power on this song is all there. This is a very impressive vocal performance from Bruce Dickinson, and much more enjoyable, spoiler alert, much more enjoyable than, say, a real live one or a real dead one to me. Anyway, the next track is the second track from Brave New World. They do Ghost of the Navigator, which is a fantastic song. And I like Bruce's intro. If you're sailing on the seas of life, you might meet this character. And then Nico, you can hear him in the background, goes, "Oi!" And Bruce just laughs. "Ha!" he says. And then he goes into the song. But that intro, you know, I always like Bruce's dramatic flair when he introduces songs. And anytime Nico says, "Oi!" you just, I can't help but laugh. I'm entertained by simple things, as people who watch this show have noticed. And then Bruce's laugh, just, it seems so genuine and natural that these guys are having a pleasant tour. And maybe for the first time, this band has ever really just had a pleasant tour together as a band, maybe in their entire history, but that's speculation. Over to you.
So just to address Henry, yeah, up until Legacy of the Beast / Senjutsu tour, where he started to get it long again, it's been short basically the entire time since then.
Yeah, he cut it off during Skunk Works in 1996, I think, and Metallica just cut their hair at the exact same time too.
I'm sure that's completely coincidental. Has nothing to do with anything at all.
It really was a trend. It really was.
I know. I'm being facetious.
We look back at someone like Rob Halford for being, a couple decades early. Next up, third track from Brave New World.
I guess I'll just quickly talk about Ghost of the Navigator first. So I was hot and cold on the song on the album. I think I prefer it live. The chorus works slightly better here, I think.
I loved this version live. I have no complaints about the album version, but Brave New World is the third track, or fourth track technically, including the intro. And, we've got this trio of songs from the new album, and it works wonders as what I would call an opening suite. Of the new songs, I think these are the best three on this album. And what's really cool is the audience is really into this song. They are just singing along at the top of their lungs. And, pardon me, the song, the guitars are full of nuance, I wrote, and Nico is on top.
Yeah, Brave New World is awesome live. I've been rereading the book in between the in between the Brave New World show and this one. I still don't know what he means by the line "Dragon Kings and Dying Queens."
I'm not going to speculate. That's for another time. Moving on, we have an old song, but Bruce introduces it kind of something old, something new, something from a Jurassic period. Rothschild! And it's a really good, solid version with Bruce on vocals. It's a good, solid Bruce vocal version. We've heard a lot of versions of Rothschild, and we have more to come next week, but it's a good version.
Yeah. The grit really helps Bruce here. It's a really solid version by Bruce's standards of this song, and there's an awesome energy here from the rest of the band as well.
Yeah, agreed. Blood Brothers, Harrison's favorite song.
Have we missed 2 Minutes to Midnight, or
we missed 2 Minutes to Midnight? Scream for me, Brazil! This is a song that we've heard a lot of recent live versions of. It was on Live at Donington. It was on Real Dead One, and it was played live when Blaze was in the band. This is an energetic version, though. It's just that there are so many versions. This one wouldn't necessarily rank. I mean, you can't compete with the Live After Death versions for most of these tracks.
Yeah, 2 Minutes to Midnight is not my least favorite version of the track, but it's never my go-to for any reason.
Right. And as these albums go on, I think we'll find that more often. As I alluded to, we have Harrison's favorite song, Blood Brothers. And I genuinely enjoyed hearing it. I mean, you guys know how I do this, and I try to immerse myself in the albums every week. And I played this album maybe 4 or 5 times. I like Blood Brothers. The meaning of the song is different live. In this live setting, Bruce dedicates it basically to the Maiden fans who have stood by them, whereas the song was written about Steve's dad. So it's kind of neat how it has that double meaning, and a good example of some great lyricism by Mr. Harris.
Well, I'm not going to go off on the song again this time. I did listen to the full thing for this album prep. It was ever so teeny weeny, marginally slightly better live.
Okay. You know what? That's good enough for me. Now, this is a song that we may end up disagreeing on, because I think Bruce does Sign of the Cross incredibly well. I hate to be forced to choose between them, but I don't know. I really like Bruce's approach on this, where he can sing that chorus in the full, the not high notes, I guess, but the Bruce 2001 high notes. I'm sorry. I don't want to say I prefer it to Blaze's version, but it's more operatic and more traditional Maiden. Okay. I said it.
I think this version's really awesome. I think Gritty Bruce is perfect for the song. I don't have to choose Bruce, because I know that there's a bootleg from Blaze's solo career from 2003, which has the best version of Sign of the Cross, hands down.
I'll retell the story for Roger, but there's a guy that worked in our store named Matty K, and he used to mock that song mercilessly when I played it in the store. We're Blood Brothers. He would caterwaul at the top of his lungs, mocking Bruce Dickinson's chorus. Moving on. The Mercenary. The audience responds as if it's a classic from the past. There's really nice keyboard accents that are very nice and audible, and they add to the song, and it's a great live version. Not much.
Yeah, I think the grit works really well here as well. This, I think, I prefer this to the album cut, and this is sort of where we get to the point where I'm like, Rock in Rio is my preferred way to experience the songs from Brave New World, and that's going to be a recurring theme with a lot of these reunion era live albums.
And I get where he's coming from on that. Now, the next track, Bruce introduces with a little bit of poetry. Cannon to the left of them, cannon to the right of them, volleyed and thundered, the Trooper. And that's, of course, from the Charge of the Light Brigade, on which the Trooper is based. And it's a great version. It's a great version. This is the last track on disc 1. So it's the closing track in the listening experience. And I just think it's a great version. It'll never be the go-to version, but it's a good one. It's certainly not a skip.
Yeah, hey Roger, let me get you there. Just hello, 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 hello.
That was at the cottage and completely different setup. I think tonight is the very first night that I've actually got the setup working at home the way that it should be. I don't think we're not getting any computer fan noise anymore. We're not getting that echo. I can hear Harrison. He can hear me. I think we're actually getting the best audio yet tonight.
All right, so the trooper Bruce's spoken word intro is really cool here, and we're in the reunion era now. So this means that on the first guitar solo, which was Adrian's on the record, we are getting both Adrian and Yannick playing the same solo, sort of doubling up. And I think that sounds really cool at times, hearing both guitars go at it. And Davey comes in for his. He's a bit improvisationary, for better or for worse. Now, this is where I've got something to talk about the DVD. So when you're watching this, you get a very brief shot of Bruce up on like the upper stage bit in the back, and he's got this very short zip line that he like grabs and goes across on the raised part of the stage.
That's funny because, of course, they had zip lines during the Charge of the Light Brigade. That's cool, Harrison. Great take on the guitar solo, because I didn't know that. But that is the kind of thing that made me very excited for the 6-man lineup when it was first announced, that I knew we would get stuff where you'd get two guys harmonizing on a solo together while somebody else plays the backing guitar. And then, of course, in this case, we love when Davey improvises. So thank you.
I've got more to say about that.
Okay.
Later.
Foreshadowing. Okay, so on to disc 2. And there's a lot of long bombers on this CD. We've already had Sign of the Cross. That's a 10-minute long bomber. And now we have the 9-minute Dream of Mirrors. And for me personally, it was a bit of a showstopper, and not in a good way. I think there's one too many long bombers on this album, and it's Dream of Mirrors. It does have a nice slow build with the crowd clapping along, and it's a nice dynamic that you don't get on the studio version. So this might be a track that Harrison will say is better than the studio version. But to me, it's one that could have been excised in favor of 2 short songs.
Foreshadowing, there are 2 short songs that we're going to talk about a bit later.
Dan, I'm going to be talking about you at the end of the show, okay?
Good things, I think. So, no, Dream of Mirrors, I think this is awesome, and I want to give commendation to Bruce, who manages to hold down the chorus really well, despite only having one voice, because they've like double or triple tracked on the studio version. But I'm not missing the extra Bruce's here. He sounds really good. The South Americans really deliver with the whoa sections, and just singing along to the riffs whenever, and the words and stuff. Maiden have done a couple of live albums in South America now, and the reason for that is the crowd. But on this one, listen to Michael Kenny back there on keyboards underneath the guitars on the chorus.
Yes, folks, listen. And just checking in on Ian. Want to know how the chores are doing? Ian, please check in. Okay, so moving on, I feel the set comes back to life a little bit with a second long bomber in a row. But this is the second Blaze track, and it's a brilliant choice to Bruceify, as we're going to call it as the series goes on. These are Blaze songs that have been Bruceified. The Klansman. And Bruce introduces it by saying, "This song is about freedom, which should be familiar to you all, but sometimes is not." And I think, again, his approach to this is makes it my preferred version of the song, because where it blasts in the chorus with the freedom that Blaze used to sing, this time it's freedom, and I just feel it's where it should have been always. And of course, viewers know here, I love Blaze Bayley. You're looking at 2 of the biggest Blaze Bayley fans in the world here on this show. So I don't say that lightly, but I want to make my opinions known. This is a serious series. We're taking it seriously. So this is my preferred version of the Klansman.
Yeah, as a diehard Blaze Bailey fan, this is the definitive version. Steve even plays the bass part correct. He doesn't have that sort of weird note mush at the very end. He gets it right, which makes me wonder why on earth, in the first place, it was even played that way on the studio record. But anyway, we've got a bit of time, so I'm going to tell you a little story. So during the midsection, when Bruce is like engaging the crowd, there's one point where he like yells and goes like, "Eh." He does some sort of like yell, and his voice, he's a little far away from the microphone, and it echoes in a funny way that made it sound like exactly like my mother yelling. So I'm at home one time listening to the Klansman live on the stereo. No one else is home, and then suddenly I hear this yell that sounds like my mother, and I'm like there walking around the house like, did my mother get home or something? What? And then I go back and listen to the track, and I realize it's just Bruce sounding a little weird.
That's funny because I've had a few songs in my life that have always sounded like there's a phone ringing during some of the songs, and I always jump still to this day.
I mean, some of the Led Zeppelin tracks, you may very well be hearing a phone.
That's correct. There was an actual phone on, I can't remember which track, but we'll do that on 50 Years of Led Zeppelin. I kid, of course. Now, on to the third track on disc 2, the track that our good friend Jake Knott from State Farm would say is not a good version on this album. But the good that men do is often turned with their bones. But the evil that men do lives on. Great intro. And decent version. I don't have any vocal issues with this song.
No, I like this, but on the topic of that, is it me, or are there some really weird noises going on underneath Bruce in the mix, like some sort of clanky interference or something under there?
I don't know.
On a couple tracks.
Yes, it does. I was going to bring that up, so we may as well address it now. I don't know what that is, but I hear it in the beginning of the album. I hear it a bit on like Ghost of the Navigator, I think. It's a sort of a distorted clank, and I almost get like is it coming out of the bass amps? I don't know.
Yeah, but it seems to go hand in hand with Bruce singing. I don't know if there was something wrong with his mic or something, but yeah, it happens on a couple tracks, and it's weird.
Yes, and maybe that's even an artifact of the loudness wars. If it's a CD thing, I don't know. We'll leave that open to the viewer to discuss, and we'd like to hear your feedback on that. If you hear the same thing that we do, is that all you want to say about the evil?
Yes.
Okay.
Good version, otherwise.
So you can tell we're getting close to the end of the set now, because the next track is Fear of the Dark. And I decided this today, just today, on my second last listen of the album before we go live. I decided that this is my favorite version of Fear of the Dark. I also love that bit during the opening verse where Bruce sings, ha, 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 ha. I love that. Bruce brings a certain dramatic flair that is like part Vincent Price, part Shakespeare. And
it's no surprise he chose to cover the Black Widow of all Alice Cooper tracks.
Correct. I think that's on Humanary Stew. Is that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Including the Vincent Price narration.
And if we do a Bruce Dickinson solo series, that's something that you'll have to remind me to insert into our... Yeah, we've had requests for a Bruce Dickinson solo series, and I'd like to drag Harrison into that. Sorry, I've lost my train of thought. Fear of the Dark. Like I said, Bruce just has this dramatic flair. Part Shakespeare, part Hammer horror, and I love it. And it's not that I don't like Blaze's approach to this song, because I actually really like Blaze's approach to Fear of the Dark. I think it's a song that he did really well. It's just that when Bruce came back to Iron Maiden, he brought back with him certain things that they did not have with Blaze. One of which is actually joking around on stage. Blaze wasn't a joke teller. Bruce is. And that lightness is something that I missed. Again, we know how much of Blaze fans we are here, but it is something I missed. So, when Bruce came back to Maiden and Bruce is singing Fear of the Dark again, it warms my heart. And I'm done lecturing on that.
Yeah, there's a lot of people out there who are like, "Oh, Rocky Rio, Fear of the Dice, the best version of the song ever, best Iron Maiden song ever." I don't subscribe to that belief. It's a good version, yeah, but for me, a real live one is the definitive version of Fear of the Dark. That is the song, and that if I wanted to introduce someone to the song Fear of the Dark, I would play them the real live version. Now, if I wanted to introduce someone to the band Iron Maiden, I would play them the Rock in Rio version because of the crowd, because of all of that, the atmosphere of the Rock in Rio version of Fear of the Dark. It is a good version. I just don't think it's the definitive version. And part of that is because Davey improvises his solo. Now, I'm very sorry, Davey. I'm sure you enjoy improvising your solos. I'm sure they make the listening experience kind of fresh on these recurring live albums, but I never, ever think that his improvised solos are anywhere near the quality of the album cut. I always prefer the solos he played on the record.
Well, fair play. One thing that I will say in defense of this version over the real live one version is that just by the nature of this album, it's a thicker sound because we have 3 guitars instead of 2. And in most cases with a lot of these songs, I naturally gravitate to the 3 guitar versions because I like that thickness.
I tend to like the twin guitar version because I like the razor sharp clarity of, say, the riff of the Trooper without like a bit of sort of extra noise around it.
And that is totally noticeable too. And that's a solid point. And yeah, I have feelings about that too. It's not that I don't like that.
It's not that I hate that, but I generally prefer the twin guitar versions.
To use a metaphor, if you've seen the movie Pulp Fiction, there are Elvis people and there are Beatles people. Now, there are people that like Elvis and the Beatles, but nobody likes them exactly the same. So that's how I feel about 2 guitars versus 3 guitars. And wellness check on Ian. Please check in. We're getting concerned. We have Ryan in the house. Thanks for watching. And again, join us in that wellness check for Ian. And Uncle Meat is in the house. The crowd change Fear of the Dark from a boring tune to a concert must now. The crowd chooses that song somehow as a calling card. And he's not wrong. He is not wrong, especially in South America. This gig, especially on this one. By the way, Uncle Meat's going to be on several episodes from now. He's going to be doing a studio album with us. Okay, moving on. Iron Maiden. Lots of Scream for Me, Rock in Rio here as Bruce introduces the song. And Bruce says they'll get the sacrifices nice and crispy.
There's a reason for that. So first, Iron Maiden, good version, but with more of that weird noise going on underneath Bruce. But when you watch the DVD, you get the full effect. So back in the back bar behind the stage, sort of in front of the backdrop, there's this big Wicker Man there, and the Wicker Man's like chest is opened, and inside there are all these like Brazilian girls wearing white up there, which is a rarity for Iron Maiden. It's not very often that they have girls on stage with them, and in an unprecedented thing, the Wicker Man Eddie is visible from the start of the song. For the whole song, you can see him back there with the girls. Unlike sort of other backstage Eddies of the past, which appear during the bridge solo / bass solo part and that. And sort of during that bass solo part, the Wicker Man gets closed up, and then there's 2 pyro blasts that come up either side, and then the head splits open to reveal Eddie. So when Bruce is talking about our virgin sacrifices being nice and crispy, he's talking about the girls inside the Wicker Man. Now, what's also interesting about this is that I've watched footage from Argentina and Chile 2001, sort of the previous dates, a couple dates before. This Wicker Man isn't there. It seems exclusive to Rock in Rio that they bring out this extra special, extra big stage item. Because during Iron Maiden at Chile and Argentina, you just got this walk-on Eddie based on the Ed Hunter tour appearance. So I think they really pulled out all the stops, but it sort of speaks to something that we'll get into with on some sort of these subsequent live albums where they film a DVD at a show that doesn't get the full stage set. They got the full stage set here in Rock in Rio, but on future live albums, there may be something to say about that. You're muted.
I apologize. Okay. Actually, you know what's funny, Harrison? Number of the Beast. My notes talk about the background noise. I again noted, is it the bass rig? I don't know. It does sound like it does kind of go with the volume of the lead vocal. But that was my only note on Number of the Beast, is that there is a notable distortion.
Yeah, with Number of the Beast, my notes say good version, but the least interesting songs on here. And the reason why I say songs plural is because I've got Ditto for Hallowed and Ditto for Sanctuary. They're all good versions, but there's nothing special about them, and they're not why I listen to rock in Rio.
Should I just take those two songs?
Might as well, yeah.
Okay, so for Hallowed, I wrote that Bruce is really pushing his voice, but he's still sounding really great. Nothing else to note about these songs. Sanctuary, I wrote that maybe they're sounding a little tired at this point of the set, especially compared to some of the earlier live versions of Sanctuary that we've covered on this show, and spoiler alert, will cover on this show.
There is something funny about Sanctuary. So not at this Rock in Rio show, but either Argentina or Chile when I watched. You know how Bruce does that sort of crowd interaction during Sanctuary, during the midsection? Well, at one of the Chile, either Chile or Argentina, at one of these shows, instead of doing the crowd interaction, he launches directly into So Give Me Sanctuary from the Law and kicks off the chorus again. Now, here's the thing. Nico and Steve are paying attention to Bruce, and they play on time with Bruce getting back into the chorus. But the three guitars are expecting him to go into that crowd interaction, and they come in a half measure later because they're not expecting Bruce to say, So Give Me Sanctuary from the Law so quickly. So there's like half a second where it's just Nico and Steve playing until the rest of the guitars come in.
Another great observation.
Yeah, that's for Chile or Argentina, so watch that on YouTube if you want to see that.
That leaves us with the very last song, Run to the Hills. Nothing to say. I mean, at this point of the set, I'm kind of like, okay, let's get it over with, I guess.
Yeah, I'm generally don't have much. I'm not very interested in Run to the Hills, but in this case, I think it's a really good cap to the album. After these three competently done but sort of unexciting songs, I think Run to the Hills caps it off very well. Bruce sounds phenomenal here, really, really pushing himself, especially on the choruses. At one point, he grabs a skull from the audience and he sneaks in a quick, alas, poor Yorick, I knew him well, in between chorus lines, which you only get if you watch the DVD. And speaking of the DVD, I do have some things to say about this. So visually it's good. It's 4:3. There's a lot of fast cuts, but it's nowhere near as bad as a future release that we will talk about in a few episodes. I wish that The Fallen Angel and Out of the Silent Planet played live Argentina, I think 2 dates before this, were included as bonuses on the DVD because Bruce did mention that they were filming them. And they did film that whole Argentina show. So to get Fallen Angel and Silent Planet or on that, on here would have been awesome, especially because they haven't got official live album releases anywhere else because they were only played on a handful of dates this tour. Then the DVD's also got a few other sort of documentary things. There's A Day in the Life, which is a short documentary on the day of this Rio show, as in sort of before and after. There's even a short snippet of Adrian playing drums there, which you don't see it all the time. Unfortunately, Henry, it's out of print, so hopefully you can find one on Discogs that isn't too expensive. Why am I blurry? Then you've got candid interviews with the band about days off. So, Adrian fishing, Bruce fencing, Nico and Dave golfing, Steve at the football. And then you've got these Easter eggs. So the way you access these is they're like scattered around the menus. So you have to like find them. They're like an outline of like an Eddie head. It's much easier on computer because you can just scan your mouse across the screen. If you're on your DV player, you sort of have to press up, see if it goes anywhere, press left, see if it goes anywhere. And these are like really, really short, like humorous snippet things that are sort of Easter eggs here. So for example, there's Yannick and Bruce on a seesaw. My favorite one is, it's like a camera viewing and there's like a mango on the floor and it like sort of goes to the mango and Bruce is like, that's a mango. And then he turns to this apartment complex. He's like, we don't like mangoes. He yells up at this apartment complex.
And that's a very Monty Python kind of sense of humor. All I can say about the bonus features is fishing. I love the seeing the guys on their off days and seeing them take some leisure time, but I don't care about golf. I don't care about football, but for whatever reasons, watching Adrian just go fishing, it just brought me peace, man.
I love Adrian's sense of humor. At the very start, he's like getting his way down this hill bit, and he just mutters to himself, "Guitarist breaks neck in freak fishing accident." So
that would be very Spinal
the
Tap.
headlines.
Anyway, it's a great DVD. I bought it for my birthday on July of 2002. That was my gift to myself. And like I said, our version is very different from Harrison's. It comes in a cardboard case rather than a plastic case. And it has a little piece of foam that keeps the DVDs in the case, which the foam is prone to ungluing itself.
So if I understand correctly, you're talking about one of these cases.
No, not one of those cases. No.
Not one of those. Okay.
No. We'll have a look at it in a future show when I can get it out from what it's under.
Just because one thing I wanted to ask, it's unrelated. How do these cases handle 2 discs?
They don't.
They don't. Okay, so that explains.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen a 2-disc one of those.
Interesting. Anyway,
let's talk about the CD packaging a bit. I love a lenticular cover. Maybe let's do the solo layout thing here. So let's get a good look at that lenticular cover. And look at that. Is that not cool? This is a physical media thing. It's fun to just do this.
Yeah, except for that weird border that you can slightly see where they've extended the art, and for some reason the extension is ever so slightly darker than the rest.
Yeah, for whatever reason that may be. There's the actual CD art compared to the lenticular. You can see that this is an enhanced CD. So let's see on the back, we get Brave New World enhanced video. And
not sure if that's the studio or the DVD version.
I'm assuming the DVD version. And then you get a day in the life on disc 2 enhanced video. May as well take a look at the booklet as well, because we did this with Live After Death. We took a good look at the artwork in the booklet. So that's a cool Eddie. And we get a lot of photos, as Iron Maiden are always generous with the tour photos when they put out these live albums. It does not rival Live After Death in terms of packaging, but what can? It's still a good package, of course. Iron Maiden never give you a cheap compromise for a package. And there's a neat Eddie Head logo right there. Mm-hmm. So that's a cool looking CD, and I do recommend it. Is this the point of the show where we give our ratings out of 5 or 10 or whatever we do?
Yeah, a little early, but yes, I think that's it.
Totally appropriate. Okay, I want to give this a 3.75 out of 5.
Yeah, I love live albums. I think I like the Brave New World songs on here more than I like them on the album cut. I would have preferred the 2 that were played at Argentina instead of, say, Blood Brothers, but it is what it is. I'd give it a 4.25 out of 5. A really solid package of live Iron Maiden that you cannot go wrong with. Grant, you're going to want to go back to the start.
Grant, yeah, you missed it, but go back and see it. Thanks for watching, Grant, by the way. And I'll have to get back in touch with you about that show we want to do together. What else do we want to talk about on this album?
Well, Mike, you've got a lot of things you want to discuss about the future, really. Stuff we'll be doing. You'll be doing.
If we're done talking about Rock in Rio?
I think so.
Okay, one more thing I want to say is that I think this is like in my top 3 live Iron Maiden albums. Live After Death will always be number 1. But when I want to listen to some of the newer songs, I've always loved Brave New World. This is probably my number 3 Iron Maiden live experience. So there you go. Were other Brave New World songs played on that tour not heard in Rio? Yes.
Yeah. So A Silent Planet and The Fallen Angel, which I was just talking about.
Which is unusual for us because of the Silent Planet was a single.
Hmm.
And it's a really good song too. So yeah. Okay, so I guess we talk about what is to come. First of all, 50 Years of Iron Maiden rolls on next week, at least according to plan, because we have not recorded next week's episode yet. Harrison and I will hopefully be able to reconvene tomorrow and record an awesome episode on not just Eddie's Archive, the box set, but we're also going to talk about the Edward the Great CD compilation, which came out simultaneously. And I might have it handy nearby. No, I don't. But that's what we're going to be talking about, if all goes according to plan. After that, we have my good buddy Danny the Manny, on his channel, Off the Charts. You need to subscribe to Off the Charts right now, because we recorded an episode yesterday that's going to knock your socks off. And that is, we interviewed Rick Hughes from the band Sword and Saints and Sinners. And Rick told us some stuff that we did not know before. It was a great interview. It's going to air Monday, which is Thanksgiving Monday, October the 13th on Off the Charts. And I cannot wait for you to see this interview with Rick Hughes. Sword are an ongoing band. They are rehearsing right now. They're playing together all the time. And they just put out a new album a couple of years ago. So I can't wait for you to see this. Rick Hughes is promoting his new solo album called Redemption. And it's a very diverse rock album with a lot of different styles. Good. Okay. We have that out of the way. And Dan, yes, congratulations. It was fantastic. And the beauty of it is that Rick Hughes is from just south of Montreal, and he's bilingual. He primarily speaks French. And Dan is bilingual, but primarily speaks English. So it was really, really helpful to have Dan. And, you know, he was able to understand the words in the French songs on the album. So looking forward to that. For the metal fans out there, the album features, on the Who cover, The Real Me, features Brad Gillis from Night Ranger, Rudy Sarzo from Quiet Riot, Tommy Aldridge from Whitesnake, better known as the Ozzy Osbourne Speak of the Devil lineup. So he's got them on The Real Me, and it's an absolutely crushing version of that song. Crushes Wasp's version. Yeah, I said it. Saturday, go to Tim's Vinyl Confessions, and then immediately after that, go to Jux Russell's channel, Cinebros Supreme, for a very special look at the Moncton. Was it Moncton that it was in? It was the record show, the Record Expo that they went to in New Brunswick last Saturday. They have 2 videos coming out tomorrow, this Saturday. TVC goes first, and then Jex's goes second, but I will be blogging both of them at mikeladano.com. So tomorrow there will be a blog with an embedded link for both videos. You can check them out. Ian, glad you survived the house chores, and thank you for watching and listening. And yes, of course, it was a joint interview, but people will see that for themselves, and I'm really excited for them to see it. We have my good buddy Peter Kerr from Rock Daydream Nation just came back from Japan, and you will not believe what he brought back from Japan with him. Oh my God. Japan is apparently the bootleg CD capital of the world. So go to Rock Daydream Nation, check out his videos on Japan. Oh my God, I'm so freaking jealous. What else did I want to promote? Well, we've got, like I said, if all goes well, Eddie's Archive and Edward the Great simultaneously next week. The week after that, my good buddy Danny the Manny and my good buddy Uncle Meat, wherever he was up here in the comments, we are planning on going live and talking about Spinal Tap 2, The End Continues. I just saw the movie. We've all 3 seen it now. The soundtrack is right here. And we are ready to talk about it. We're ready to talk about Spinal Tap 2, The End Continues. So that, I believe, is October 24th. Live on Grab a Stack of Rock, and live again the following week. We'll have Walter Becker and myself and Robert Daniels from Visions and Sound and Johnny Klauser from My Music Corner, and we are going to be doing our top 5 band costumes, meaning stage costumes. So like say your favorite Kiss tour costumes, or an album cover. Like say Sgt. Pepper's is your favorite Beatles costumes, or perhaps you prefer the suits. Maybe you're a Beach Boys fan, an ABBA fan, a Wasp fan. We'll be doing our top 5 band costumes. And as an added bonus, since that is October 31st, Halloween night, we will also be in costume. I think that's all I have to say for now, but Iron Maiden, 50 years of Iron Maiden rolls on. We have a couple more episodes already taped ahead of time, and we will be talking about Visions of the Beast. We will be talking about a very special tribute album called Food for Thought. Lots more to come on 50 Years of Iron Maiden. I think I've said it all. Thanks for watching.
That just about covers it.
All right. Well, Harrison, I hope no photos exist of that. Oh, and you know what? Dan has also sent me, because he is actually, I don't mean this to embarrass him, but he's quite good at costumes, is what I'll say. And Dan has sent me an entire folder worth of his own costumes, science fiction, horror, all kinds of cool stuff. So Dan will actually be a participant in that show via his costumes. It's going to be a fun night. Harrison, as you know, we always like to go out on a song. Do you have any particular wants to hear tonight?
Good question. We've got time, so why don't we go with Got the Time, if you have that one.
Got the Time. So in other words, you don't want us to be monetized tonight, but it's a great version of a great song. Here's proof that we don't give a crap about money. Got the Time by Clockwork Orange, an awesome version of an awesome track. Take care, everybody. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next week. Fingers crossed, because we haven't recorded it yet, but we'll see you next week for Eddie's Archive. See you then, folks.
Another one. This is a little Anthrax song, originally written by Joe Jackson, called Got the Time. Letter just right. Thank God, gotta get this letter just right. Little ringing on the telephone, way off with the ringing in the head now. No such thing as tomorrow. Only 1, 2, 3, go time! The time ticking, ticking in my head. The time ticking, ticking in my head. The time ticking, ticking in my head. Ticking in my head. Ticking in my head. Ticking in my head. Someone knows what the time is. I don't know. They know I gotta go now. No time trying to get my watch repaired. No time, never got a thing to wear. Little ringing on the telephone, way off with the ringing in my head now. No such thing as tomorrow. Only 1, 2, 3, go time! For the time tick tick ticking in my head. For the time tick tick ticking in my head. For the time tick tick ticking in my head. Ticking in my head.